Hi, I'm Lippy.
And I'm Grumpy. Together we're Lippy and Grumpy Do Podcasting.
In this episode, where have we been? Offensive full stops, electric bikes, Twitter, and why do?
Now, Lippy.
Hello.
We had a little break, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Orange Marshal 2 was quite distraught by the fact nothing for 2 weeks.
Oh, apologies.
But it turns out, as I saw him on Sunday, that he's not an Orange Marshal anymore. He's taken a bit of a break.
Oh.
So we have to come up with a different
Give a new
nickname
name.
for him. Yeah.
Ex-Orange Marshal?
Oh, it could be ex-Orange Marshal 2. But he'd be ex-Orange Marshal 1. Because
Yes.
Orange Marshal 1 is still an Orange Marshal.
Still a
It's very confusing. I think we may have to find something that isn't connected to marshalling or orange.
Yes, possibly.
Now, to explain our absence, the first week we had to have a new consumer unit or fuse board here because of wife of Grumpy's new oven selection.
Oh, yeah.
Requiring a little bit of wiring that turned out to be rather a lot of work in the end. And that's not her fault. That's due to regulation changes since it was last fitted. So that's all been sorted and we have a squeak-free oven, which is really very pleasant.
It's a very impressive oven as well.
It is. And you can connect to it with your phone as well, which is interesting.
Because you can turn it on.
Hilarity. Well, you can and you can't. You can set it up, but you have to go and press another button. And I think the idea behind that is so that other people with the app, for example, me,
don't your
then
oven on.
fiddle with it. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that's all good. And then you were very busy with work that week, and we couldn't fit it in.
God, yeah. Still busy with work.
And then last week we were supposed to be away, but we didn't go in the end, partly because of the weather was so shocking at the beginning of the week. So that's why we've been away for 2 weeks.
Yes.
Anyway, we had a little bit of sad news last week, which is partly the reason we didn't go on holiday, is that our lovely 19-year-old cat called Roly finally, unfortunately, had to go. And she'd been suffering with kidney problems for a while, and it was just got a bit sad, really. It was a very hard decision to make. Yes, she was catching rats 6 months ago.
I know.
And, yes,
I saw a picture of her actually sat behind Mum.
Yeah.
And that was July, and I was like, wow, she went quick.
It did go very quickly.
I don't think that's the right phrasing, but...
Well, she went downhill very quickly, but she had a very good life. She travelled no further than half a mile from the house to the vets. So, so that was a bit sad, but you can't have your pet suffering.
No, definitely not.
So 3 weeks ago, when we last did this, there were a couple of things that came out of the editing anyway. Now, you had a problem with a clock mix-up.
Yes.
And you said it was dyslexia, and actually I'm going to disagree with that. I think the problem is the 12 and 24-hour clock thing all over again. And do you remember we did a piece months ago where I said, actually the 12-hour clock just causes so much confusion, it should be banned. And if it had been banned, you wouldn't have had that confusion. So I don't think...
No, I would have.
No, because it wouldn't...
Oh, it didn't exist.
You wouldn't have gone 17, that's 5 o'clock, or 7 o'clock, or whatever. I can't remember what the confusion was. So.
So I forget to read the 1. I see the 7 and think 7 p.m.
Yes, I think that's very, very common, and that's why the 12-hour clock should be banned instantly.
Okay. It still wouldn't help my issue now, though, if it got banned instantly.
No, it wouldn't. No, not at all.
I've learnt it now.
No. And you were talking about freedom of the City of London, and we talked about sheep.
Yes.
And, there's a big day out to be had next September. And if you go to sheepdrive.london, it explains all about it. And it's a whole day full of fun and driving sheep across London Bridge.
I would love to go.
And all sorts of stalls and stuff. Yeah, so it's done by, I don't know what they call the wool masters or something connected with production of wool. But it looked like a really fun day out for September.
Sheep herding.
Yeah, sheep herding. So 2023, we will do our best to attend that.
Yes.
I think it maybe take some microphones up there and see whether we can interview some sheep.
Well, you can get microphones that plug into the bottom of your phone.
I've got a really natty handheld one that I'm desperate to use.
Okay. I'll get a fancy phone one. You use the natty one.
Okay, jolly good. My fun fact from 3 weeks ago was about Mozart.
Yes.
And the bobbing up and down of the head. For some reason, I didn't do a great deal of research last time, but it turns out that the lady concerned, or the singer concerned, was the arrogant mistress of the other composer. And Mozart just took a complete dislike to everybody, basically.
I like it.
Well, he didn't, obviously.
Yeah.
Now, last week we also picked up our very long-awaited electric bikes, which are a natty little fold-up design that will go into the camper van, so we don't have to leave it on the back and worry about them being stolen in the back. And also, the weight on the back is quite considerable.
Yes.
And it's very rare that you buy something and you get it home and you try it and you go, this is a lot better than I thought it was. Now, bearing in mind I had test-ridden one.
Yes.
I did a quick run up to the bonfire on the Friday. And I came back and there was a massive grin on my face.
Yeah.
Now, the previous week I'd cycled up there on my very old bike, which cost £99 30 odd years ago, which the bearings are a bit on the worn side, so the back wheel does move a bit. So it's all very hard work. And I got there, I thought I'd have to sit down. But this was brilliant. Got there fresh as a daisy. Although, well, you sort of think electric, no, that's not really the done thing. It is, because you can feel you've done some work.
Yes.
But you don't feel like you need to have a lie down.
You're not dripping with sweat when you arrive.
No, and it's only a mile and a bit to the bonfire site. So, yeah, I love it. I think it's brilliant. And they're quite expensive, but it is the best bicycle I've ever owned. In terms of the parts are just so much better quality than everything else I've ever owned before, because I've never spent that sort of money on a bicycle. And obviously there's a premium because of the electric motor and all the gubbins and what have you, but it's brilliant. Very, very happy with those. And we did a little trip around Chichester Harbour last week, which, apart from having to go through about 100 yards of water and about a foot deep, which we got absolutely
Can you do that in an
drenched.
electric bike?
You can. It doesn't fuse out, so it turns out. It's all waterproofed up.
What would you have done if it had fused out? You can still cycle it, I assume, if the electric's not working.
Yeah, you can cycle it. If the battery runs out, you can still cycle as normal.
And does it charge as you cycle?
No, it doesn't. It's not that sophisticated.
That's the next stage of electric bikes, I feel like.
Well, no, that's the next. You have to pay a lot more for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're at the bottom end of
the spectrum
in terms of spending money, and you'd have to pay a lot more for regenerative braking, I think they call it. Anyway, in the middle of last week, last 2 weeks, we had our bonfire.
Yeah.
Which was very good.
Delightful. It was a spectacular, actually. It's the first year I've seen the bonfire actually get lit.
Okay.
I've never seen it being lit before. It's the first time I heard the prayer, and the others were laughing at me. I was really enjoying it. I did not know people stood around shouting, "Burn him."
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know about that.
It's very macabre, because the whole procession business is basically a vehicle at the front where they have a guy competition during the day. So the winning guy is on that vehicle.
Yeah.
And essentially is taking the place of Guy Fawkes.
Yes.
Although Guy Fawkes wasn't burnt, there was unmentionable things done to him. Hung, drawn and quartered, I think.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. So there was no burning. The bonfire bit was after the plot had been thwarted. People lit bonfires in the evening to celebrate the fact that the Houses of Parliament hadn't gone up. Oh. So the bonfire is significant to celebrations, not the way that he died. But the two seem to have merged a little bit.
Yes, because there was this whole part that was like, should we hang him? And everyone was like, no. Should we drown him? No. Should we burn him? Burn him. I was really enjoying it. I don't know if you can tell.
I don't know what happened though one year if the prayer, I don't know why it's called a prayer either, because it's not really a prayer.
No.
But he says, shall we hang him? And everybody goes, yes. What do you do then? Oh, okay. Oh, we won't light the bonfire. We'll make up some gallows.
Oh, well, yeah. Everyone's there to see the burning. But
Yeah, they are indeed.
It definitely took longer to light than I thought it would. But I guess we had a lot of rain as well this year. So it must depend on how much rain we've had leading up to it.
We'd had a lot of rain that week. And in fact, that day in the morning had been quite wet.
Yeah. So it seemed to take a while. And then all of a sudden it was just in a massive whirl of fire.
Now, the bonfire this year was smaller than last year. And the council insists on reducing the size of it each year. So we had a few comments on social media about how small it was compared to other places. And, I mean, they were absolutely right. But the bonfire was big enough. And in fact, once it got going, I'm thinking,
that's what I said.
well, actually...
When I saw it, I was like, are you sure you would want it bigger than that?
No.
Like, I'm shocked we've had it bigger than that, because the fire obviously doesn't stay contained to the size of the bonfire. It's very wispy and blows a lot. Like, the fire seems to be double the size of the original
Yes, it is.
Mass.
Yeah. And the wind was blowing in not the usual direction.
Yeah, it was blowing towards the fun fair because there was a big puff of smoke that just travelled over and fully covered the wheel, the Ferris wheel at one point.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have wanted to be on that for that.
No. Anyway, as a commercial operation, which obviously that's why we run it, to make money, we seem to have done very well. And last year was an odd year because we didn't have other bonfires on the
same
going
evening.
on at all. Well, it wasn't even on the
busy.
same evening. They weren't on at all last year. And there was 3 others within half an hour drive.
Was that only last year?
It was only last year.
Mad.
But we're not far off last year's total, which was
That's
the best
impressive.
we'd ever done. So, yeah. So there's a lot of generosity, which, as a charity, we need to be able to help people during the year. And I think, with all that's going on, we'll need a lot more of it.
I did learn one thing from this bonfire night.
What's that?
That iPhones are very good at taking pictures of fire. Did you see my photo
Oh, yeah,
of the
that's
fire?
very good. Yeah.
It's not
it's
very
very
clear, but you can really see the depth of the fire. I was very impressed.
Excellent. Well, we did learn something else because obviously there's a bit of clearing up to do, which I got involved in.
Oh, yes.
Having the easiest job of the night of just waffling through a PA system. So I arrived home, it must have been just gone 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And there was a massive conversation going on about how younger generations are offended by some emojis and full stops.
Yeah. Full stops. Yes, definitely.
The phrase passive-aggressive was used, which I put in the same category as influencer, as a term that is just to be not used and ignored at every possibility. Because I don't understand it. But this whole thing about, in context, if you put 3 dots, that's basically you're starting the Third World War with that.
Yeah.
Which is what it seems to be. Whereas I would put it, if I'm leaving and I don't want to go into a long conversation, I'm leaving ... because I'll be home in 10 minutes. And what I don't want to do is spend 5 minutes trying to type out a message and then leave.
I get that, yeah. I do. I get it from your point of view completely, but it's also an unwritten language of my generation. So as much as you say it doesn't, you'll just ignore it, it means something to our generation. And if you sent it to me, I wouldn't read it that way because I know you don't mean it that way. But if Duck Boy sends me a full stop, he's done that on purpose because he's trying to be passive aggressive.
What, the full stop at the end of a sentence?
Yeah.
I mean, that is ridiculous.
At the end of a sentence, at the end of a message.
Yeah, no, that is ridiculous. There's no discussion as far as I'm
not
concerned.
disagreeing with you, but it's a
3
thing.
dots, I can understand how you could code that as such. But a full stop is grammar, and I don't understand, and I'm not going to rant about this for very long. I don't understand how we've got a generation that's growing up where their primary means of communication is written, and they've come up with these rules that can be misinterpreted because they're compressing the code that we use, so things mean more than one thing, and that is bonkers, pure bonkers.
Yeah, I agree, it is, but it's happened now. There's nothing you can do about it. It means what it means to us.
Well, we could slap a few people around the head and try to knock some sense into them.
But, yeah, so your parents, you must have used language that your parents didn't understand.
Not in the same degree.
In slang?
Very likely, yes.
So it's kind of like slang for us because we're a more online messaging, instant messaging generation. It's basically slang.
It's not, because what you're doing you're compressing language. So rather than using a slang word for something else, actually, I'll give you an example. So my uncle's mother, so essentially grandparent or great-grandparent to your generation.
Yeah.
We'd come back from the pub at Christmas, so we were late teens, early 20s.
Yeah.
And my cousin used the word cheers as thank you. Now, cheers cannot be taken in any context as anything other than a nice word.
Well, cheers could mean thank you.
Yes, I know, but it's not. But it can't be taken as I'm really angry at you. So though the word's got two uses, you say cheers when you have a drink, or cheers to say thank you, which is sort of the same thing. What it's not done is taken that word and said, well, actually, in this context, it means I don't like you, or I'm really cross with you.
But if someone did something that affected you in a negative way, you could go, oh, cheers. And then that's negatively using cheers.
It is. That's very true. But you're unlikely to write that.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah. I get it. I do get it. But it's happened. It's been and gone. The problem started and ended. And it's just a thing now that people of my generation feel. Oh, and we're a bunch of sensitive Sallys, so you can't.
Well, this is partly my point. The full stop thing is ludicrous, though. Being offended by a full stop at the end of sentence is ludicrous. Yeah.
I wouldn't say I'm not offended by a full stop at the end of a sentence. I just know it means that the person that sent it is annoyed.
Well, that's crazy. Anyway, let's move on to something a bit better, shall we?
Yes.
Quality Street. Now, if you have a tin of Quality Street, there's almost certainly going to be one or two chocolates in there that get left to last because they're the least favourite.
Yes.
Now, John Lewis has a scheme in 18 of its stores, unfortunately not including Guildford, where there's a variety of different tin options.
Yes.
Where you can go and pick a mix, basically. So you can fill the tin full of the ones you like, or two of the ones you like, and off you go. And there's no more leftovers at the bottom, which I think is a very good idea. And they do a personalised tin, so you can have your name on the lid. And if you go back with the personalised tin, you can fill it up for £7 less.
Oh,
which I think is a really good idea. So
how much extra are you paying for the personalised lid, though?
You're paying a little bit extra. So you're paying £17 for the personalised tin and contents. Mm-hmm. And then when you go back next year, or later that week, then you get another tin full. And this tin is 1.2 kilograms, so it's bigger than the ones you get in the supermarket. Yeah. So they're about 800 grams. So it's quite a bit bigger. So the price is they're not over the top. Obviously, the personalised one is the slight premium to that. But I thought it was a really good idea, and it's a bit of a shame it's not in Guildford.
Yeah.
It's got quite a long way to go otherwise. Well, Southampton.
That is good, though. I like that. But did you also hear that Celebrations have mentioned creating a box without the bounty?
Yes, I don't know why there's so much hate for the bounty bar.
Neither. And as a bounty liker, it's really the best of both worlds, because I'll eat all the other ones first with everyone.
Yes.
And then it's just the bounties left, and then I have a whole tin of bounty.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yes, if there's one you like that nobody else likes, then stay away from that until there's nothing left. I don't know why there's so much angst about bounties. Maybe they've been putting full stops at the end of their paragraphs. Maybe that's what it is.
Because I love coconut. Most people like coconut, don't they?
Well, it depends on the paper saying nobody likes bounty bars, but that's just not true.
No.
I like the dark chocolate bounty bars, particularly the red ones.
I'm not the biggest fan of dark chocolate.
No. If you're not, then obviously the milk blue ones are the better ones. So while we've been off air, as it were, Mr. Musk, our favourite Bond villain in waiting, has, well, quite frankly, not sure what he's been doing. So he spent $44 billion taking over Twitter. Yeah. He's walked into the building with a kitchen sink, which I really didn't get that at all. Fired the board, then laid off half the staff by effectively turning off their laptops, which has got to be the most cowardly way of doing it. Yes, exactly. I mean, we don't swear on this show, which is a good thing, but I feel the need to do that because I think that's really quite despicable. I'm not going to do it, though.
No.
So my question is, given that half the staff's gone including people that were monitoring whether there was fake accounts or obscene stuff going on. So a lot of those have gone. There's no more free food at Twitter. You've now got to pay for it, which if you've been relying on that's not very good. And this whole business with $8 a month for the blue tick has caused utter chaos to the point where somebody registered an account for a company that produces medicines, tweeted that insulin was now free, and their share price dropped dramatically. To the point where the blue tick thing has been put on hold because...
Well, have you heard that alongside the blue tick, they were doing a grey tick anyway?
What does a grey tick mean?
So a grey tick means the account is actually the person it says it is. So it means the same thing. It's verifying the account, but you can purchase yourself a blue tick if you want to have a blue tick on your account.
Well, this sounds like the actions
of
a mad
blue ticks
person.
literally mean nothing because
it means
you can
you've got
buy
£8
one
a month to throw away.
Yeah, but a grey tick is what a blue tick used to be.
Well, I suppose the perception is the blue tick previously meant it was a verified account.
Yeah.
And you'll still perceive it as that for a while until you go, actually, no, it's the grey tick that's important. Anyway, I've got the feeling that Twitter won't be around by the end of the year. I think it will have imploded.
No, I've already stopped using it. Not that I used it much anyway. Yeah. I used to use it when interesting things happened, like the Formula One on Sunday. I would have been all over Twitter, but I chose not to. I decided to Google it instead.
Yes, I've not got as far as closing my account or the Lippy and Grumpy account, but I'm not going to be using it for a while. I think it's just going to disappear. But there's trouble at Mill with Facebook as well, or Meta, whatever they're called. So they're seeing a decline as well. And I was reading an article earlier in the week where they were talking about the change in perception from social networking, which is what Facebook was set up to do, to social media, which happened a few years back. And they're saying, well, actually, we shouldn't be looking at it as publishing. We should be looking at it as connections between people. And that's where it's really valuable. I've made connections back to people I knew a long while ago through Facebook.
That's why a lot of people used Facebook.
Yeah, it's valuable for that. It's not valuable for slagging off the person down the road for whatever reasons. Wanting to
accidentally trimming a leaf off of their bush.
Who knows? Who knows indeed.
Talking of Formula One, did you catch it?
No, I saw that George Russell won, which was really good. Really pleased to see that.
Mercedes won too.
Oh, well, I never.
Yeah, very impressive. But the actual race could not beat the drama of literally the last half a lap.
Oh, really?
The whole race was very dramatic. There was a lot going on, a lot of crashes that the drivers were able to carry on and keep going, which is obviously good because they're not hurt. It was more taps, but some people spun and then carried on anyway. It was just a lot. There was a lot going on the whole time, a lot of overtaking, a lot of really good Formula One. How I remember it when you used to watch it, and I used to watch it with you.
Yes.
I don't know if you know this already, but Verstappen's already won the championship.
Yes, I did know that.
A couple races ago, yeah. And Perez is fighting Leclerc for second place in the championship at the moment.
Interesting.
Yes. So you're coming, the last half lap, you've got Verstappen in front of Perez.
Okay.
Verstappen is told to let Perez pass because this race really doesn't mean anything to Verstappen. And
so is Perez Verstappen's teammate?
Teammate. Where he would have equaled points with Leclerc going into the last race. If he had let him in front, he would have been just ahead going into the last race. So obviously, makes sense, doesn't mean anything to Verstappen, says, let Perez pass. He doesn't reply. They say it again. He doesn't reply, doesn't let him past, crosses the line, and then they go, what happened? And he went, you know my reasons. I'm not doing that. Don't ever ask me that again. Yeah. And then the drama started. I honestly watched so much afterwards. Perez didn't know that Verstappen had been told to let him pass, and literally was like, after everything I've done for him for the last 2 years, I'm so disappointed. And basically said that if it wasn't for him, Verstappen wouldn't have won the World Championship twice.
He played a blinder last year, on the last race of last season.
Yeah.
And I know there was a lot of controversy about the last few laps, but early on he was playing such a good wingman.
Yeah, 100%.
That is despicable behaviour.
The next time that Verstappen needs Perez, he's not going to help him now, is he?
He's not going to help him.
Apparently they've said they've sorted it out, but
no,
that's going to be no.
No, they never have.
But how selfish. It was so interesting to watch the whole dynamic afterwards.
Yes, because it makes no difference to Verstappen whatsoever.
Literally, it just proves how arrogant and entitled he is, that he thought he could do that and not help out his teammate. Self-centred. Yeah. That's what I meant, not arrogant.
Yes, that's absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, at least then second place goes down to the last race.
Yeah, does make it more interesting. Yeah. And then on the other side, you had Leclerc. So Leclerc was fourth and Sainz was third. And you had Leclerc begging multiple times over the team radio to get them to swap places so that he would be ahead going into the last race. And they just said, no, we're not taking a podium away from Sainz.
Interesting.
Because Sainz is still, although he won't finish second, he's still finding his place in the championship. But that was nice.
They were equal points, second and third. Oh, that could be worth watching this weekend.
I definitely, especially, well, Verstappen's now said that they've sorted it out, so he will help if he's needed to be helping. But yeah, he had a little tap with Hamilton at the start as well, which the comment he made afterwards is, I knew Hamilton wasn't going to give me enough room and I wasn't going to back out, so I just went for it.
Yeah.
And that's his whole like demeanour about everything. It's like, I'm not going to back out. I'm going to make them move. And if they don't move, then we're going to crash.
Generally, I like people, but I'm actually disliking Verstappen rather a lot. Yeah. Which I think I don't know whether it's his personality or, I mean, obviously to win a championship, you have to have considerably more drive.
Definitely.
Than other people, and myself included in that.
And take risks as well.
Take risks and an unerving belief that you can win it.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't even remember Hamilton being that. When he was younger, I remember he was quite arrogant, but I don't remember him being that bad.
No, he was. There's a difference between almost being cocky, which you expect.
Yeah.
And I like that. It's quite amusing watching young people being cocky.
Yeah.
And just being unsportsmanlike, which is what Verstappen has shown there. That
massively.
It makes no difference to him. He's just doing it because
he can. He's just trying to push.
It's bullying, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, well, I think I might have to watch that.
Yes, Abu Dhabi is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Again, because it was interesting last year too.
Yes, it was, wasn't it, Bean? Yes. Well, obviously, after a couple of weeks, we've had quite a long list of stuff to talk about.
We really have.
We have actually gone through very little of it. Yeah. I don't know what we've spoken about, but I just wanted to finish off. I'd quite like to start a new feature on here.
Yeah.
Called Why Do?
Oh, okay.
And I was at a 60th birthday party on Saturday evening. Which was a little bit misjudged because I was up at the crack of dawn to go to the NEC on Sunday, which fortunately I wasn't driving, but it was by the end of the day, by the time we got home, my eyes were cartoon
gone.
Eyelids, completely gone. Anyway, so I went into the toilet and they had 2 dispensers by the sink.
Yes.
One for soap and one for hand conditioner. And it's difficult from the contents to see which
is which. Yes.
Which is which. And there's tiny writing on there. And I thought, well, actually, if I didn't have my glasses on, and I have been in this situation, you can't read what it's. You have no idea which is which. So why do they do that? Why don't they have big letters on there? And bearing in mind, this is the golf club where Wife of Grumpy plays. And
they're all pretty old.
That's exactly what I was going to say. They are of an age where the eyesight will be failing.
Yes.
And Wife of Grumpy, who will wear contact lenses and then try and read something and say, I can't read that, I've got my lenses in, which in my view just makes them pointless. But
yeah.
You have to have reading glasses to work. So why do that? Why not have them with nice big
or have it next to the hand dryer on the wall, like mounted next to the hand dryer on the way out, rather than next to the soap.
or in the gents, why bother with the hand conditioner at all?
Because there's actually nothing worse than... Also, I'm really enjoying that you're calling it hand conditioner. Than putting on moisturiser.
Is it called moisturiser?
Moisturiser. And then getting it wet, because that is the worst feeling ever. It just turns into like a really horrible textured thing that doesn't ever seem to come off your hands.
I wouldn't have thought that was the worst feeling ever.
It's not a nice feeling.
No.
Everything's sticky and slimy.
So my question for this week is, why not put bigger labels on these dispensers, and why have hand conditioner, moisturiser, whatever it's called, in the gents at all?
Yeah.
Top tip, Lippy.
Can I tell a joke instead of a top tip?
Of course you can tell a joke, provided it's clean and it's funny.
It's pretty clean. Oh, I've told it to you already.
Oh, have you?
It was a clean joke. You laughed.
Did
you
I
liked
laugh?
it. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I've forgotten it, so I'll laugh again.
I'm pretty sure it's clean enough. Yeah, it's clean enough. So, what is the difference between a dirty bus stop and a lobster with large breasts?
I don't know. What is the difference?
One is a crusty bus station. The other is a busty crustacean.
Very good. Yes, that is very funny. And just to
really
add some context to you telling that joke before, you sent that to me at quite a late hour.
It was like 11:15. I was so shocked that you replied.
Well, only because it was... I mean, I've been off work for 2 weeks, and it was one of those evenings, and I was sat... Everybody else had gone to bed, and I was sat watching what the horse whisperer refers to as car porn on YouTube. Yes. Of various wrecked cars being rebuilt. And you sent that through, and I did chuckle.
Yeah.
I definitely chuckled.
It's the rhyming... And a busty crustacean, that's just the best wording ever.
Well, yes, there is something, a picture forming.
Yes.
Let's say that. Well, I have a fun fact, and it's about Gary Oldman, the actor.
Oh, yeah.
Who has been in many things. He's one of my favourite actors. And so when Gary Oldman joined the Harry Potter cast, 16-year-old Tom Felton, who played Draco Malfoy, didn't recognise him. He just had that looks, right, Felton, in a new book, a scruffy older bloke wearing an old pair of jeans and a T-shirt. Assuming Oldman was a cleaner who'd been polishing the floor, Felton squeaked his shoes on the surface, gave a thumbs up, which from our conversation a couple of weeks ago is also could be taken the wrong way, and said, "Top work, mate."
He must have been like, "Excuse me?"
Yeah. I heard something similar about another actor, and I can't remember the actor, where they thought he was the coffee man or something like that. And they called for him on set, and he said, "Oh, hang on a minute, I'm just dealing with..." Oh, no, it was rigging something. It wasn't coffee. He was helping the riggers rig something.
Funny.
Yeah. Well, people often look very different when they're not in movie mode.
Yes.
That's it for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening.
You can help spread Lippy and Grumpy's view on life by leaving a review on your favourite podcast platform.
If you're not sure how to leave a review, or if you download from Spotify, there's some help at lippyandgrumpy.uk/review.
And if you would like to get in touch, email podcast@lippyandgrumpy.uk.
So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Goodbye.
Bye.